Hey there everybody, in this video I'm going to share with you guys how I would pack for an overnighter, give you some tips on how to think about how to pack your gear, and show you 2.5 ways on how you can put it on your bike. So let's first start off with the gear. You've probably seen photos of gear like this. You know, it's also known as a yard sale. Not very helpful because it's just kind of disparate parts. So one way to think of your gear is to use the metaphor of a house. The tent would be kind of your house, and your gear would occupy different rooms in that house. So we've got our overall shelter here. In this case, it's a tarp tent double rainbow. And the other room in the house, one of the most important ones when bike camping or bike touring, is the bedroom. So all the things that you would need to sleep comfortably on your overnighter. In my case, it's a quilt and a sleeping pad, pillow, as well as an inflation device for the sleeping pad. So this is the bedroom. So the next thing is the bathroom. That would be your spare clothes that you use for sleeping, or your toiletries. My stuff just fits in this one small bag. And of course, one of the most important rooms is the kitchen. So all your cooking and food needs. And for me, that would be this small GSI stove setup, as well as a water filter. And lastly, this is kind of a little bit more of a luxury item, but the office. So things that you would take for fun. So that would be a book, a Kindle, a camera, in my case, a small watercolor kit. And one final room is the garage. So this is all the things that you would need to repair your bike. So things like a pump, a small replacement tube, even if you're running tubeless, as well as all the things you need, you know, like a chain tool, some lube, some tire levers, things of that nature. So that's one way to conceptualize of all the things, so it makes a little bit more sense. Let's put it on a bike. And in this case, I'm going to put it on my Crest Bambora, and this is actually my preferred way to do it, and that is using these Paradise style bags. So let's pack the bike. So in the front here, this is where I would keep kind of large volume but light objects. So mainly my bedroom. So I would put my quilt in here, as well as sleeping pad, pillow, inflation device in there. And you can see there's still a lot of room. I would also toss in my watercolor kit so it's quick to access. And just like that, we've got about half our load already packed. And you can see one of the big advantages of a bag like this, as opposed to a sausage roll, is you're not just stuffing things in there. You can kind of organize it somewhat. So let's move to the middle of the bike. This is where I would put the garage items, so all the tools. In here is already a windbreaker for quick access. Small tool bag would go in here, as well as my pump. So nice and centralized, not too bulky, quick access for those on the bike repairs. And I forgot, super lightweight tube. So let's move to the rear, and over here is where I would put things like the kitchen, water filter. I would have a separate bag of food, so put all the food items here, as well as toiletries and sleeping clothes. All in here, fits in pretty easily. And finally, the last thing is the house itself, the shelter. So since I have short legs, you know, I don't have a ton of saddle to tire clearance. So for this to work for me, I do have to use a rack as an overall support. And on this rack, I would just use 2 belay straps or bungee cords and secure the tent. So as you can see, pretty simple, everything you would need for a bike overnighter. So I can totally understand that these bags are pretty expensive and might not be attainable for everyone. I'm going to show you how to do it in a much simpler and more accessible way with just a rack and pannier. Okay, I know this bike looks a little bit ridiculous from the apocalypse, but it's a bike I'm going to use to illustrate the simple, time-tested rack and pannier system. So 2 panniers here by Swift Industries. It's on the tubeless rack. So I'm going to put in the bedroom in this one pannier here. So I've got my quilt that goes inside like so. And these are fairly small panniers, so if you had larger ones, you could definitely put more things. Sleeping pad goes in here as well. And if you look over the top here, there's actually a fair amount of room. So I think I will also put my office supplies just for super quick access. So I can do those watercolors on the go and roll it up, and bam, that's like half the stuff. Okay, so on the other side, this is where I would put the kitchen. Kitchen goes in here, Bedroom, so spare clothes, toiletries, water filter, as well as all our tools. Fits handily in this rear or in this second pannier. Last piece of the puzzle is the tent. And again, I'm going to secure this to the top of the rack using these belay straps. So I know racks currently not in vogue, but man, they are so useful. So you can see it's a pretty compact and tidy package. And in terms of cost, you definitely get more volume and space per dollar if you're using a rack and pannier system. So in 2 bags replaces the need for 8 small bags. Granted, you know, the weight distribution not ideal for certain types of riding, but if you're just getting into it and don't want to fuss with all the small bags and getting ultralight gear, then a rack and pannier system is definitely the way to go. So lastly, I'm going to share with you the other half system. I promised 2.5 ways to carry things on your bike. This is the half system. So let's say you've got a bike with a basket. That makes a perfect platform for doing a bike overnight. One of the big advantages is, you know, it's kind of infinitely stuffable. You can just put things here and secure it down with a cargo net. Yes, you can use a basket specific bag, but you could also just put things in there. So if you have dry bags, you can just stack it like so, squish it in there. You can make the pile as high as you're comfortable with, and then secure everything with a bungee cord. So if I were gonna actually use this system for an overnighter, depending on the weather, I would probably put things all in a big dry bag or some kind of more water resistant bag. But you can see with something as simple as this, carries a lot of volume and you don't have to make things too complicated. So those were my tips for helping you guys pack for your overnighter. As you can see, there's different ways to do it depending on your budget, on the bags that you have. I think the most important thing is to just go out there and do it and not sweat the small details too much, because you are only out there for one night. It's a great way to experiment with different setups. Hope you guys found this helpful. If you guys have any questions, leave those in the comments below. And as always, keep the supple side down.